know. Scheduling things and stuff. Is that all done? Is that all done?
And I feel better about these on their old.
You know what? I'm so much better than
Yeah. When he said that, the reason I said people are buying it because of the accessories. Like I would like to listen to my TV through my chair. That kind of stuff. He said, that's really what I'm getting for. And I can, but I'm not agree. I'm not
So what do they cost? What do I know? Okay, that's not as bad as I thought.
not as bad as I thought. They're getting great schedule. I did a lot more when I did got into it 15 years ago.
Good morning, supervisors, staff, and guests. Please join me, if you're able, in the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, roll call, sorry. Roll call.
Calisthenics.
Sign in. Sign in. The brain isn't functioning.
It's too cold.
Right, we have. Everybody sign in. Is there anybody on the WebEx?
There's one call in, but I think it's the courthouse server.
All right, thank you. All right. So we have 16 present, 4 absent. Join me now in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I have a motion by Supervisor Diedrich and a second by Supervisor Steer to approve the agenda. There are no corrections or additions. Please vote. So we have 16 yes, 0 nay, 0 absent, abstain, and 5 absent. All right, moving on to the minutes. You've had them and looked them over, and I need a motion to approve them. And I have a motion by Supervisor Diedrich and a second by Supervisor Irwin. Seeing there are no additions or corrections to the minutes, please vote your ballot. (16) yes, 0 nay, 0 abstain, 5 absent, so they have been approved. Are there any communications?
I have no communications.
All right. Public participation? Don't see anything over there. Okay. All right, then moving on to special business. David Mackel, Finance Director, and Matt Payette, Director of Operations, will provide an update on our ARPA funds and projects.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So David and I want to touch base on where we are at the end of 2023 with ARPA. So on page 7 of your packet, there we begin a couple of slides that I'm going to take regarding the projects, and then David, following that, there's a couple of slides that David has on page 9 and 10 regarding the financial situation and status of ARPA. So if we look on the top of page 7, you will see the current status of what we have obligated. So to date, there's been 8 rounds of funding that's been approved by the county board. The latest was in the 2024 budget. There were 3 projects within there, if you recall. One was the Appleton office, purchase and renovation. The other was a flock camera system for the sheriff's department. And the 3rd project was a mobile command center for the sheriff's department as well. If we go down on page 7, this graphic just represents where we've been from the beginning of the ARPA obligations in June of 2021 to the present. So to date, that top box on that graphic, we have reviewed and received 121 projects worth a little over $36 million. After review of that, we review those from ARPA guidelines perspective and then county criteria perspective. 62 projects were deemed eligible, and to date, the county board has funded 41 of those projects. If we move on to page 8, the top graphic just gives an illustration of funding categories. So what we have, or what the county board has approved to date, and what category that goes into. So the top category, funding category to date, is facilities. That at the with the approval of the 2024 budget and the addition of the Appleton office, that moved to the #1 category over responding to the pandemic and IT improvements. So if we go down the list, this gives you an idea of what category and where those dollars have actually been spent. And then lastly, if we go to the bottom of the page, there is a pie chart just to let you know kind of the current status of projects. To date, we have completed 20 projects. So from the last report that was provided, we've closed out 4 more projects. There was Discover Wisconsin, we had a door security and access project, County Board AV, so the AV system upgrade in here was a ARPA project, and then a Microsoft upgrade. So those are 4 projects that since the last time we reported, that have been closed. So we have 20 complete to date projects overall. 17 are in implementation right now. We're working through those. 3 are in the planning stage. And then lastly, from a project perspective, you had approved a considerable amount of ARPA funding for the courthouse renovation. That money, as of last week, has been spent down. We are now on the sales tax portion of that project. So the renovations, what you see around here, the old law enforcement sheriff's area, the rotunda area and the south, up into the 2nd floor, the judge's area, that ARPA funding has been spent to date. So with that, I'll hand it over to David.
Okay, the next 2 pages really go through what we have spent, and a couple clarifications. When we're looking at obligations, obligating to projects is different than the federal definition of obligations. So obligations in this spreadsheet is really when we have purchase orders or we're committed to fund a certain project to a vendor. So you can see what we're doing is very closely tracking each project, and the departments have been very good about managing the projects, keeping information so that we can manage the finances of the project. This ARPA funding, we do have until the end of this current year to obligate all the funding. So we have to obligate all $9.7 million. If you look at the 2 pages, if you go to the bottom of the page 10, we have spent a little under $5 million as of December 31st. Now, this report is identified as preliminary because as we close the year, as Matt indicated, we have spent all the funding for the courthouse remodeling, and a lot of that was done in December, but we paid it in January, so we'll accrue that back. So we present this on a quarterly basis to the Admin Services Committee, just to provide a little bit of update of how we're spending the funding. So it's preliminary, but we have spent about $5 million of the $9.7 million. How we're approaching this project is very likely to overcommit on the project, meaning we want to have more ARPA commitments than funding. In case a project comes in under budget, we'll be able to shift between the different fundings so that we don't have to send any money back to the federal government. So we're very closely monitoring with the departments, and as Matt said, as we get closer to the end of the year, we're going to, communicate a little closer. There will probably be a couple of budget amendments that will come through as we finalize our commitments and obligations for 2024 to comply with the federal rules. And with that, me or Matt will take any questions anyone has on the ARPA.
If there are any questions, would you please press your request to speak? No one has any questions?
I do, but my button's not working.
Matthew, Supervisor Booty.
Thank you. Dave, I think you touched on this regarding possibly over-obligating for funding in this year, just so that if we underspend, we do not have to return any funds. But since everything, as I understand, needs to be obligated this year, what if, for example, what if we obligate all the money, but we still come under budget on all these things we've obligated? This is a what if. Then can we re-obligate it before the end of 2026?
No, it has to be obligated, meaning you have signed contracts with vendors by the end of December. So we can't shift after December 31st. But we will ensure, one of the areas within flexibility is the ERP design, so we can add additional costs to say we're going to fund maintenance through year 3.
Okay.
And if we don't need it and we have to shift that to our general fund budget, we can shift it. But if we need it because other projects came down, we'll just use the ARPA funding to pay that year 3. So that's how we're going to handle it.
All righty, thanks.
No one else? All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Moving on to Resolution 2023-16.
Resolution amending the 2024 budget for the Natural Resources Conservation Service contribution agreement introduced by the Land and Water Conservation Committee and the Administrative Services Committee.
All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Booty and a second by Supervisor Voigt. And Supervisor Huffberger, would you speak to this resolution?
Thank you, Madam Chair. NRCS, a federal agency, provides substantial funding for conservation projects in Calumet County. NRCS does not have adequate staff to provide engineering expertise and oversight to ensure the proper installation of these projects. Therefore, NRCS, besides paying for conservation projects, they also are willing to pay 75% of the work which our conservation technicians do for these projects. We got this money before the approval of the budget, therefore, we're asking for you to grant this position now.
And Supervisor Gens, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I did not.
All right, thank you. All right, if there are no questions, please vote your ballot. We have 16 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain, and 5 absent, so that resolution has been adopted. Moving on to Resolution 2023-17.
Resolution reauthorizing self-insurance under the Wisconsin Workers' Compensation Act, introduced by the Administrative Services Committee.
All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Voigt.
No.
No?
That's last
Excuse
week.
me.
It hasn't gone forward.
All right, we need a motion for that resolution. Supervisor Diedrich and a second by Supervisor Booty. Are there any questions regarding this resolution? And Supervisor Gens, would you speak to that, please?
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chair. We have the opportunity in Wisconsin to either go with an insurance company or we can be self-funded for workman's compensation. For a number of years now, we've been self-funded. This is a resolution we work on each year, and it's time for us to pass judgment again on requesting that we be self-funded for workman's compensation. Thank you.
Are there any questions of anybody regarding this resolution? Seeing none, please vote your ballot. We have 16 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain, 5 absent, so that resolution has been adopted. Moving on to Resolution 2023-18.
Resolution authorizing the Administrative Services Committee to settle accounts not exceeding $10,000, introduced by the Administrative Services Committee.
All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Steer and a second by Supervisor Miller. And Supervisor Gintz, would you speak to this resolution?
Certainly, thank you so much. The board has an opportunity to allow one of its committees to deal with settlement on accounts up to a certain amount, and so this board has designated the Administrative Services Committee to settle accounts that don't exceed $10,000. And so we're asking for that right to continue. Thank you.
Okay. I have a motion by Supervisor Steer and a second by Supervisor Miller. Are there any questions regarding this resolution? Seeing none, please vote your ballot. We have 16 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain, 5 absent. That resolution has been adopted. Moving on to supervisor reports. If you have any supervisor's report, please press your request to speak button. All right, I just want to remind those people who are going to the Ledge Conference in February at Madison, if you decide that you cannot go, that you let Cheryl know this week, because otherwise we cannot get our refund back from WCA. So just keep that in mind. You have, those that are going, you have your information on your desk. Okay. We have the county administrator's report and appointments. Any questions on his report? None, all right. Then on the reappointment of the county surveyor, recommend the reappointment of Brad Buechel, whose term will expire January 31st, 2024, and his new term will expire January 31st, 2026. And I have a motion by Supervisor Schwallenberg and a second by Supervisor Booty to confirm that resolution. Are there any questions? If not, please vote your ballot. 16 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain, 5 absent. All right. Our next regular meeting is February 20th at 9 o'clock. And seeing that we've completed all our agenda items, I will move for adjournment. And please have a safe trip home with the weather the way it is.